Welcome. In this video, we will discuss about how the center has decided to extend the fortified rice scheme. So we will discuss about the latest decision. We will discuss about what are the challenges with regard to fortified rice scheme and in general what the overall idea of fortified rice scheme and why it is necessary. So let's begin. The first thing that we need to look at is the basic detail, the context because of which this particular scheme was in use. So children in Anganwadi and government schools could soon be eating rice infused with iron, folic acid and vitamin B12. So this will be called as the fortified rice. Why it is called as the fortified rice? Because now it will be having the nutrients which were generally found to be deficient in the diet of a child. So iron, folic acid and vitamin B12, which like the majority of Indian population suffers from the deficiency. So that will be infused in the rice itself and hence the rice will be fortified with these nutrients. In a bid to combat chronic anemia and undernutrition, the government is making plans to distribute fortified rice through the integrated child development services and midday meal schemes across the country from next year with a special focus on 112 aspirational districts. So there is an aspirational district program envisioned by Niti Aayog where they have come up with the fact that instead of taking the districts as backward, we need to put the aspirational word so that the resources could be focused over there, and it is based on the approach of convergent collaboration and cooperation. So that's the whole idea behind the aspirational district program, and under this fortification schemes also those aspirational districts would be targeted especially. Now how they will be providing the rice to the children at the end of the day? So that will be done through the integrated child development services, which is a scheme been in place for a number of decades now. And under this there is a midday skill program, and through which the children will now be getting the fortified rice. In fact, that is something which has been decided. So accordingly, the Food Cooperation of India, which is the cooperation of India which takes care of getting the grains from the the processors and then giving it to the public distribution system. So over here the Food Corporation of India has been asked to come up with a comprehensive plan to scale up the annual supply of fortified rice from the current 15,000 tons to at least 1.3 lakh tons. So the government has asked the FCI that they need to come up with a comprehensive plan. So how could they going to increase the supply? So right now they are providing around 15,000 ton of fortified rice. How they are going to increase it to 1.3 lakh tons, which is the required limit in the couple of years over a period of time, so that the fortified scheme program could launched in the districts. So this is something which has been decided. Now let's try to understand what is fortified rice. So fortifying rice involve grinding broken rice into powder, mixing it with nutrients and then shaping it into rice-like kernels using the extrusion processes. So what happens once the rice is actually broken down? So the rice piece that we get, it will be broken down, it will be converted into powder, and then there the nutrients would be added. Once the nutrition is added through the extrusion process, again it will be shaped like the grain of the rice itself. These fortified kernels are then mixed with normal rice in 1:100 ratio and distributed for consumption. So it's not like all the rice grains would be fortified now. So they will be mixed with the normal rice. The ratio would be like 1 grain of fortified rice, 100 grain of normal rice, and then eventually it will lead to more nutrient rich diet and it will lead to the fortification. Now just for your information, let's also try to understand something, that the fortification instead of the biofortification is different. So biofortification is what recently Prime Minister has announced about the biofortification, few of these species which are going into the biofortification. Biofortification is different because here the nutrient is added at the growth stage itself. Nutrient is added at the time when the crop is grown, added at growth stage of crop. So just remember, biofortification is different from food fortification. because biofortification is done when the crop itself is growing. On the other hand, the food biofortification, which we are just right now discussing, is actually at the processing state. We just saw that the rice which is like already grown would be like grinded down to powder, and then the nutrient will be mixed. So just for your understanding, differentiate. Biofortification is different from food fortification. Now let's come back to the topic. So we have just learned what the fortified rice is. Now let's try to understand what are the issues associated. So it's not like that fortification haven't been tried, but it has been marked by some of the issues. So only 5 states, Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu and Chhattisgarh, have started the distribution of fortified rice in their identified pilot districts. So basically there were certain districts which were earmarked for starting with the midday meal scheme, where the fortified rice would be provided, and out of that only 5 states have actually started this. The remaining 10 states have only identified their respective district and will soon start distribution, but less than 1.5 years remain in the pilot scheme period. So in the next slide we will understand what this particular scheme is all about, but try to understand the issues associated is more along the line that even the scheme was in place from 2018. The idea is 2019, sorry, the idea is that they should have already started the distribution, but out of the 15 states selected, only 5 has started the distribution and 10 are yet to begin. So that is something which is could be considered troublesome. Now at the supply side also there are certain issues. We just discussed this, FCI has been asked to increase its supply. So currently there are only 15,000 tons of these kernel available per year in a country. So that is the present scenario. To cover the public distribution system, Anganwadis and midday meal scheme in the 112 aspirational districts only, the annual supply capacity would need to be increased to about 1 lakh tons. So this is the supply side constraint we are talking about, that right now it is only 15,000 ton, but even to cover the 112 aspirational district, the required amount is at least 1.3 lakh tons. And if you want to cover the entire country, then it is going to take 3.5 lakh tons. So we can just see there is a huge supply side constraint as well, and that is why the government this time has asked the FCI to come up with a comprehensive plan on how they can increase the supply. Now let's just quickly understand about the fortification of rice and distribution under PDS. So it is a centrally sponsored pilot scheme. So pilot means that it will not be like introduced in the entire nation, and it will not be like fully funded. It's more of an experimental pilot space to see how it is working out, to closely monitor its outcome. So the centrally sponsored pilot scheme, centrally sponsored means it is funded by Government of India in the ratio of 90s to 10 in respect of northeastern and hilly states, and for the other state it is 75 is to 25 for the rest of the state. So such a kind of a division, when not only the center takes care of the entire funding, but some of the like responsibility falls on the state also. Such kind of schemes are called as centrally sponsored scheme. So the fortification of rice scheme is also one of the scheme which is under the centrally sponsored plan. The pilot scheme focuses on 15 districts, preferably one district per state. That's why like 15 states were identified. The centralized model of the fortification by state UTs has been approved in the pilot scheme with blending at the rice milling stage. So this is what government has suggested, that at the milling stage itself the fortification should be done. The operational responsibility and identification of the districts for implementation of the like the scheme lie with the states and UTs. So who will be the one who will be responsible for the implementation? Those will be your states and UTs. States and UTs have been requested to operationalize blending of fortified rice at milling stage and start its distribution through PDS as early as possible. So this is something also been like kind of asked to the state, that you have to identify the district and then operationalize the blending at the milling stage, and then as early as possible start the distribution. So far 15 states have consented for implementation of the pilot scheme. So as of now 15 states have consented, and we just saw in the last slide that 5 states have already started the distribution. 10 states have identified their district, but they yet to start with the distribution. So these are the basic details that you need to know about this particular fortification of rice. So I hope you have understood this video. If you have any doubt, feel free to drop a comment. Thank you.